Hey everyone, welcome back to the Light of Wisdom podcast, the show where we explore the stories, struggles, and breakthroughs that shape how we live, grow, and think. After a long break, we're back, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome today's guest, Christopher B. from the Good Faith podcast. It's almost been a year since he stepped into podcasting world, and today we're reflecting on that journey, the lessons, surprises, and wisdom along the way. Chris, welcome back to the show, man.
Hey, what's up, Azan? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. Can't complain. It's been a while since we did this, and hopefully we do it justice from the last episode, and this one hopefully will be a banger. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
So, what surprised you most about being a podcast host after almost a year of being into the area?
Well, I mean, I think like everybody experiences in any endeavor is it's always a lot more work and it's always a lot more difficult than you think because when you come in you don't know what you don't know and I think Alex Hormozy like draws a little like line graph of what every passion project is, and it's like it starts out with uninformed optimism, and then you hit your first adversity, and it turns into informed pessimism, and then you like go down into this like rock bottom, which is like the value of despair, and that's where like all life lessons are learned. When just nothing seems to be working right. As you saw, we were still experiencing technical difficult technical difficulties with like my audio setup and stuff like that, and just there's so much things to learn, especially when like things are not going good. But if you just persevere through that, then you start to go back up into informed optimism, and that's where you really can like take off and your trajectory will just go like way up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And as a follow up on that, like quickly, did your expectations match the reality of the show when you kind of first took off?
um I mean, I think like I had my knowledge and my expertise has increased, as well as kind of where I see the show going and what I want for it. Like I still think there are plenty of areas for me to improve upon, but I'm really happy about what a little under a year has yielded us. Like we got monetized on rss.com, so every time somebody listens to an advertisement on our audio versions of the podcast, I'm monetized a little bit. And I've grown my Patreon to about like double digit subscribers, making like I don't know, a couple bucks every single month. And we've brought on a couple paid advertisers for the actual podcast, just like local small businesses. And have had like tons of awesome guests, from leading coaches to professional mentors to financial analysts, and quantitative analysts, and like sponsors, people who are in the fitness space, people who are, and even just like regular friends of mine who I have like had on multiple times, and even random strangers who I've built a stronger connection with. It's been a heck of a journey, and I didn't think that it would be this exhilarating, but it has really been like an awesome journey.
Yeah, for sure. Like you mentioned, right? I think like we'll all have like ups and downs, right? Like I think through any initiative that you do, any kind of um I guess starting point, no matter where you are at in life, there's gonna be ups and downs. And like you said, right? Like I think once you hit that adversity, um, and it can still be bumpy, but as you mentioned, right? Like the reward is priceless, right? Like from having, exhilarating guests on to having like so many different people on that you probably would have never thought about, to kind of transforming it to almost a year. Most people, I think at this point, you can either crash land or you can still kind of wave the waves, if you will. So yeah, that's really cool, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like Buzz Lightyear. You know, like Buzz Lightyear says, like there's no, or maybe it's Woody or something. He says like there's no flying, there's just like falling with style. You know, that's kind of what having a podcast, getting a podcast off the ground. You're not really flying. You're just not crashing. You know, so that's where we're both at. You know, but I do think we're both falling in style. You know, we're doing a good job at keeping this ship afloat and not like wrecking it.
Yeah, that's true, man. You couldn't have said that better. Um, I want to ask you, so you've done almost half a dozen episodes. What's one moment or episode that's really completely changed how you think about a certain topic?
Um, hmm. What, like one of my episodes you're talking about that's changed my views on things?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Well, very like very recently, I had a guest on named Gonzalo, and he sticks out to me because he's just like he's like one of those guests that's just like everything that you would love to be, like a person that you can emulate. And he's like, about 10 years younger than me. He can't like when he does workouts, he said he burnt like 1,500 calories in one workout, which I've never done. He's like a he's like in like aerodynamics and like astrophysics and stuff like that. So he and his like faith is really strong. He was quoting things from the Bible at me, and he just seemed like he was like super well put together and made me rethink about the way that I go about my life. Because sometimes I tend to coast, sometimes I tend to like not give 110%. So, and like to see someone like him who's 10 years younger than me, it was like cool. It kind of gives me a kickstart.
Yeah. And sometimes all it takes is that one episode, I think, to really get your mind kind of shifting, as you mentioned, right? Like him being 10 years younger than you probably was I'm not gonna say like a wake up call, but more like a shift in kind of like you mentioned, like you were thinking a little bit about your mentality, and as you said, right, there are certain things that he does that you want to kind of emulate and follow. So yeah, that's super cool, man.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like as a podcaster? What do you feel podcasting has really taught you about yourself as a thinker, as a listener, and also as a creator?
I think that as a creator, like I was always told my entire life that I was very creative, I was very imaginative, but I kind of just didn't believe it. I kind of always thought that I was just a guy, and I'm really learning that like the sky is really the limit with us, as podcasters, and we can truly accomplish great things. We live in the best time in human history, in the best continent on earth. Like North America is the epicenter of like human innovation. There's nothing that we can't accomplish if we just put our mind to it. And like I've tapped into like a vast resource of expansive network. And like and especially for my podcast where we're able to push the envelope as far as like graphic explicit content goes. So we can curse, we could talk about anything, nothing's off the table. So like truly there are like no boundaries to the kind of content that I can create. And as a thinker, like early on I always tried to just like push across this agenda, whatever agenda that I was trying to have pushed across. And what ended up happening was I made I made the conversation too small, because the conversation was just going in whichever direction I wanted it to go. And now I've kind of in the last in the last several to a dozen episodes have taken more of a interviewer approach like I know you like to do, and like allowed my guests to kind of like maneuver the conversation. And I think that it helps, because nobody wants to listen to my opinion for like 45 episodes in a row. They want to hear these guests that I have on.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, like, I mean, in our case, like, the series that we did and the episode that we had, I know our first episode, like, there was some technical difficulties that we just at the time we were new at like kind of editing, and as you said, right? Like when you're new, you play around with everything, right? So, versus like to that series that we did also where I think I think we had a script for one episode, but then after that we were kind of freestyled it. And like you said, right? Like sometimes the format can be difficult. Like if you don't have a script or you don't have like a prompt, it can be kind of difficult to kind of keep the conversation afloat versus like if you have something to that kind of keeps your talking points and your notes to kind of like a certain point or a certain standard, um, it kind of can make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
So how do you keep your conversations real and meaningful in a world full of noise and I guess kind of like you could call them like trolls on your channel.
Well, yeah, that is a big that's a big big roadblock that I have, because I think like all human beings genuinely want to be liked, like we all want to be liked, we all want to be popular, we all want to be like validated, have our existence, validated by other humans. So when there is a person out there who's like a hater, or a troll, it can definitely like drag you down and make you feel like you're, less than. I still have one or two trolls, like even to this day. I know I shouldn't focus on it, and because like last night my mentor in all of this like social networking and podcasting, I watched one of his videos and I saw that even he has trolls. Like he's got these random, we call them BPVs, like a bedpan virgin, just this like total dork who lives in his mom's basement, who's like commenting about what another content creator is doing. And I love what David Goggins says on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like you will never meet a hater who's doing better than you ever. Like so you just need to frame it in your mind like that. Whenever you see a hater, trolling your channel, leaving comments, they're like, one, the most important thing is you are better than them. I know in the eyes of God we're all, amazing people, but like, from an objective standard, you are better than them if they are on your, channel and they're leaving like hateful comments. And two, like they're actually helping you towards your goal. It might not seem like it in the moment, but they're a pair of eyes, a pair of ears on your channel paying attention. Like they cannot be passively viewing your thing and leaving like hateful troll comments. So like if they are engaging, though they might not be like agreeing with you, though they might not be making it easy, like they are actually, like moving you slowly towards your goal, and my channel needs another like 1,400 hours of watch time. So like every hour that I'm dealing with a troll, that's another hour closer to my goal. I'll have to get that made into a t-shirt. It rhymes. Every every hour with a troll is an hour closer to my goal.
There you go, man. See, like good things happen when you do more podcasts, and I think it's safe to say we just inspired you to come up with a business slogan. So that's a good one. I like that. So, if you had to distill your podcast journey into one lesson or principle, what would it be and why?
I think it would just be like get get to work and stay working. Like consistency trumps all in this business. So, every episode that you make might not be that episode that has 250, 500, 1,000 views, and you might not get like 1,000 likes on every single piece that you produce. But if you just produce the volume, eventually, like, you're gonna hit that tipping point. Like, there's a fantastic book is Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point, where it's not about necessarily like being in the right place at the right time. It's just about doing the right thing over and over again, consistently, until you get the traction that you need to reach critical mass. And at that point, you're past the point of no return. You're going to get the results that you've been working for.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think like you couldn't have said that better, right? Like I think there will be times where it'll be difficult. I mean, like it's only been a year for you and of course like after a year and after a few times like you kind of get a picture of what I mean, I wouldn't say like you get a picture of what the trajectory is gonna be like, but I think after doing it for so long, you kind of get a picture of like what direction you're going in, the kind of flow that you're moving in. Because I'm sure we can both attest, like there are some days where it's gonna be slow. There are gonna be some days where it is gonna be a busy week where you got episodes like every single week, where you got guests every single week, and sometimes you don't have guests, and that's okay. But yeah, that's really cool. Um, I want to ask you like a final thought question for you to kind of wrap everything up. What advice would you give to someone who is kind of like or has been in your shoes where you think about like last year to now, who wants to start a podcast but are a bit unsure or hesitant?
All right. Well, this one will be a long one, especially because it's our final thoughts. I'll talk because I my podcast deals with what I think the four pillars of like that make up the human experience, right? And I think that those are faith, finance, fitness, and family. So I'll start with faith, I guess. First of all, have faith that what you are doing is inspired by like a divine creator and a divine overseer. Like you're not if you have this drive in your heart, you don't have it for no reason. Like whatever your God, whatever your higher power is calling upon you and filling your heart with this inspiration for a reason. So like don't don't think that like there don't believe in coincidences. Like a coincidence is just a miracle that you haven't given God credit for yet. So like if you feel that you have this desire to want a podcast, go out and do it. And believe me, like your first episode is not gonna be your best episode. It'll probably be 50 to 100 episodes before you really reach that tipping point. But you just have to like have faith that what you are choosing to do is for like a purpose, and you're not just wasting your life away. Two is finance, and especially this goes out to anybody who's in America. I don't know like Canadian tax law, or I don't know like any other country's tax laws, but in America, we have like we have we have a lot of taxes. So do the Canadians, but we got a lot of taxes. Some of us are in America are taxed up to like 40% of our annual income, but we do also have a lot of tax loopholes. So if you are a podcast in America, you can write on your taxes that you are a sole proprietor, you are a business owner. So keep receipts of everything. If I drink this coffee on this podcast, I paid for this coffee. It is a business expense. Take a if I take an airplane to I've done this year. I took an airplane to San Diego. I took an airplane to Omaha. I got like hotel lodging while I was there. Anything that I ate while I was there, anything that I paid for that business trip, so long as I am using it to produce content for my channel, it is a business expense. So like anything that can be considered a business expense, write it off. You will be reimbursed a little bit for it when your tax refund comes along. So I would definitely, yeah, like if you're starting a podcast, definitely like have a business mind about it, and like just see what you can do. I this year I like certain expenses that I normally wouldn't take, taking now because I understand that they can be considered a business expense, and I'm taking them to improve my product, and also like they will not cost as much. And I believe your business can in America, I believe your business can be a complete failure for 3 to 5 years before the IRS really starts to like tighten up and audit you. Like, hey, you're not a real business. You're just a hobby. But like for the first for the first 3 years, you can sink all the money in the world into your business. It can generate zero profit, and that's still totally legal. I think once you get to like 4 or 5 years, then they really start to crack down. But especially if you're in your first year, keep all your receipts and stuff like that. Thirdly, fitness, and because I want to be a an advisory podcast. I want to like prescribe people a lifestyle that I personally like endorse. And early on in my podcast, I was drinking a bunch of Coca-Cola, eating a bunch of pizza, and like living a less than wholesome lifestyle in terms of like what I was putting into my body. And now I've like really tightened it up. I'm drinking I'm drinking like zero sugar, Celsius and stuff like that. Like just trying even like anything you can do to improve yourself is going to show in your work, because nobody wants to listen to a hypocrite. So I really try and you know bring my best self to it. And fourthly, family. Yeah, like I have a pretty loving and supportive family. We're pretty small, but we're loyal. We're close, even though we all live like far away. And my family is my biggest supporters. Like my mom watches just about every single episode. My sister watches when she can. My dad supports me where he can, and like so and I think your friends can be your family too. If you have best friends, like they're also the exact same. So like don't yeah, don't take that for granted. Like if especially when you're early, nobody knows you exist. The people who know you exist are going to be your family. So lean on them heavily, and they will, give you your startup capital of attention early on when nobody else will. So those are my four suggestions.
Hey man, you heard it here first, and yeah, honestly, man, just keep doing what you're doing. I've been watching you on Friday nights whenever I can. Obviously, when I don't have volunteering, I've been watching the replays too, and you're putting in a lot of good work and a lot of good changes. And with any show, like you said, right, like just do it. Even if you think that it's not meant for you, try it out, and I think we can both say from experience it'll be a good return, and it'll show eventually, once you get started. So Without further ado, man, I want to thank you, Chris, for joining us today on the Light of Wisdom podcast. This is our 56th episode, and
Ooh.
we couldn't be more happy and more excited to have Chris back with us. Thank you for sharing your insights with us, sharing your journey with us. I think we've both kind of started along the same time last year, and to see the growth has been super cool. If you want to connect with Chris, make sure to check out his channel in the description notes below. If this has helped you in any way, share it with a friend, drop a review. It helps more than you know. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep seeking the light of wisdom. Take care, everyone.